you're in Florida and hurricane season's here. So what do? We want to help you prepare for hurricane season, especially if you're new to Florida. This can be a scary time if you come from a place of earthquakes or tornadoes and you're like, I've never been in a hurricane. Not to fear, the best part about a hurricane is that you will find out it's coming weeks in advance, so there's plenty of time to prepare. In general, it's important to already have some of these preparations at home so that it doesn't take you for a surprise or when you get to the store, completely out of supplies. So here's a few things you should always have at home as your hurricane kit. Okay, so here are a few items. The first thing you should have is non-perishable items, at least for 3 days worth of consumption. The next thing you want is water. You want to make sure you have water for up to 3 days per person in your household. You don't know what the condition of the water table is going to be after a hurricane, so you want to make sure that you have good drinking water available to you. The next thing, you're going to want first aid kit. You want to make sure that it has enough Band-Aids, prescription medication, anything else that you regularly would use, and beyond. You just want to make sure that if you can't get off your property because there's trees blocking or anything like that that make it difficult for you to get out for something small or minor that you can take care of, make sure that you have access to your prescriptions and access to just anything that typically would be in a first aid kit. The next thing you want is personal hygiene and sanitation items. Make sure that you're fully stocked on that you're not out of that, because again, everything that we're telling you to put in the kit is because you may not have accessibility to get off your property. It may be flooded around you depending on the hurricane, and there just may not be supplies at the store. So you want to make sure that you have enough of it at home to prepare. Flashlights. Have lots of flashlights because power outages are the norm when a hurricane comes through here. So you want to make sure that you not just have enough flashlights, but you have enough batteries to power your flashlights. A generator is always a good idea, especially if you have a large household. Generators are good because you're going to want to cook your food. You're going to want to be able to make sure that your refrigerator is still good, because remember, when power is out, everything else is out. So as soon as your power is out, keep your refrigerator closed as long as possible until you get it connected to a generator. A battery-operated radio is a great idea. Again, have extra batteries. You want to make sure that you can get the news if you're completely out of power. You want a waterproof container with cash and important documents to make sure that, God forbid, your house floods, you at least have those documents safe and protected. You want a manual can opener, a lighter, or matches, anything like that. Just think about all the things that you have electric and make sure that you can have the non-electric versions of those. Books, games, anything recreational that you can do, because remember, power's out, people don't realize how much we depend on iPhones, iPads, television, all of that stuff. Make sure to have your phones charged. When a hurricane is coming, charge up your phones with as much battery as you can, because you don't want to use your generator for a lot of things. You want to use it for emergencies or to keep your refrigerator cooled down, for stove, for being able to cook and things like that. But other than that, you want to make sure that you're keeping all of your electric devices on full battery and using them only as necessary. Cooler and ice packs are a good idea. It starts getting very warm very quickly. Generators are also very good if you can have fans, because then you can plug in your fan to the generator. You can also have handheld fans that require batteries. Trust me, it can get really hot really quick. Hurricane season is not during the winter. It is during our summer, and not just our normal summer, but like our hottest summer. So you want to make sure that you can cool down. And the most important thing in your hurricane kit is an evacuation plan for your family. You want to make sure that you know how to vacate your property. Remember, with hurricanes, you have plenty of time to plan. So people who get stranded, sometimes I wonder, when they've said and mandated evacuations, why don't you leave? I know that I personally have taken the time for hurricanes to go on vacation. I leave far, far away. There's other times where you just want to stay home and buckle down and you want to make sure that your property is safe and okay. So depends on where you are on that spectrum. You can go either way. Another really important thing outside of the hurricane kit is to make sure that you either have shutters or plywood. Plywood is one of the first things to go as soon as the hurricane comes close and they start seeing that it's a category 2 or 3. You're going to start seeing that plywood gone. So if you can already have plywood in your garage, or in a pole barn, or in anywhere you can store it, a storage shed, that would be great for you to be able to have that. And if you can show that to your insurance adjusters or insurance company, you may actually get a deduction because it can qualify in Central Florida as having hurricane panels. So that's a really good idea to have year round. But if not, please prepare to have that at least during hurricane season, especially if you have a lot of windows and a lot of trees surrounding. Another good idea, cut back and trim on your trees, especially ones that are hovering over or close to your property. Remember, the winds can get really, really strong in Florida in general. Central Florida, we tend to not get as much of the whiplash as our counterparts that are on the ocean. Those get typically hit a lot harder, and by the time it hits inland, it slows down a bit, but it doesn't mean we don't get really bad hurricane winds and rain. So you want to make sure that you can cut back those trees, because limbs fall all the time, trees fall all the time. If you have an old tree on your property, make sure that it's okay with your city, HOA, or county, whatever is necessary, if you can cut it down if it's an older tree, because sometimes you don't even realize that they're rotted out, and by the time a hurricane comes, it's just a small wind that it needs in order to be able to knock it down, and it could fall on an electrical line, it could fall on your home, on a vehicle. So you want to make sure that you can cut all that back a little bit. Power outages are completely normal. You want to make sure that your gas tanks are full for your vehicles. And it's really a good idea to have extra gas jugs full of gasoline, because you never know when you're going to have access to gas again. Gas, again, is one of those things that you're going to find that clears out really quickly. Long lines, you don't want to wait in those long lines. Those long lines waste gas. So make sure that you have that ready. You're going to need gasoline for your generator or anything else on your property that requires gas. Get propane tanks. Those are a really good idea, especially so you can use your grill. ATM, go get cash. Pull out money from your bank account. Make sure that you have enough cash in stock just in case. Again, these are all things just to prepare for power outages. Water, we've done this. Fill a bathtub with large containers of water so that you can use it for flushing. This is a really good idea to do, especially because you don't know if you're going to have water or not. This can happen depending on where you live and depending on how hard a hurricane hits. On floridadisaster.org/getaplan, they have a really great opportunity for you to either choose a family plan, a business plan, a special needs plan. You can put your location in there, and they will actually create a plan for you based on where you live, like the important things that you're going to need. So it's such a great asset to have. On our website, we also have a blog post on how to recover your home after a hurricane. So some important things after a hurricane that you should know before is make sure you have hurricane or flood insurance. This is not covered in your normal homeowner's insurance, but it is so important for you to have. Insurance sucks until you need it. So make sure that you can get this insurance in advance. When you try to apply for flood insurance during hurricane season, just know full well it's going to take 60 days to come into effect. So if your home floods, or if you get hit by a hurricane and you don't have insurance coverage, unfortunately, you're not covered. So that's going to go out of pocket, because your typical homeowner's insurance does not cover flooding and hurricane damage. So make sure you know what your coverage is and your deductible. Everybody always wants the cheapest monthly payment for insurance, but when you need it, you want to make sure that deductible is not excessively high, or it's going to be so much out of pocket that you're not going to be able to afford getting your home fixed or getting, any damage that's been done to your property. So these are some tips to get ready for hurricane season, especially for those that have never been through a hurricane. It's important for you to understand what to expect, and you're going to hear a lot, hurricane party, because what happens is, and this is good, but you get, your meteorologist, news, talking about a hurricane, and by the time it hits, it's become a tropical storm. We like that, but don't disregard the fact that hurricanes are still very serious, and when they hit, they can be catastrophic. So we still want to make sure that we're planning for the worst and hopeful for the best. So we want to make sure that you are prepared and understand what can potentially happen and be prepared for that. But at the same time, if you have a hurricane party just waiting for a hurricane that turns into a tropical storm, that's what we want, that's what we celebrate, but we want to make sure you're prepared both ways.
We keep dancing with the devil, but he doesn't have a back, no.